All right, welcome back to another episode of the Fan Connection podcast, hockey edition this time. So, for those of you who were here earlier, you would have been listening to us talk about Stranger Things, but now we are moving on to the NHL Entry Draft predictions. So, we have our list pulled up. We have Ponch back on the screen. Ponch, you want to give a little hello to let people know you're here?
I'm here.
There we go.
Watched a TikTok about Stranger Things, so
Oh God, let's not even start with that.
now
Let's just
I really know what's happening.
I'm not even gonna give you the time of day for that. I'm not even gonna let you. So let's talk right away. Let's hop into the draft. So obviously it's the draft's held in my hometown in Montreal. So let's go. We finish last. We get the first overall pick, and we host the draft. Coincidence? I think not. But yeah, round one. First overall pick goes to Montreal. Second goes to New Jersey. Third goes to Arizona. Fourth to Seattle. And fifth to the Philadelphia Flyers. Guys, the top five. Who do you have going to which team?
I can tell you the top three. I think that... So, I really think Montreal is just going to take Shane Wright. I think he's the safest pick in terms of being a really just being a good player, right? And he's a very complete player. I will say that I like someone a little bit better than him, but I know Shane Wright's a more safer pick, as in he'll probably hit. He's very, very likely to hit and be a star player. I don't know if he'll be a franchise player, but if you're Montreal, you gotta take that anyway, because I mean you have Suzuki already. If you have Shane Wright as your second line center, you have Caulfield. That's a good core, right? That's a good solid core. And I've seen lots of comparisons to Krejci, Bergeron for Shane Wright, and I think that's solid.
I see your point. Question though for you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at Bob McKenzie's list, and he's usually the most accurate because he does pull scouts in the NHL. He's usually the most accurate with his predictions. If you mirror his, at least this was according to Gravity, whatever. You know who I mean, Grav, on his YouTube channel. He likes to use the Bob McKenzie because usually he finds it the most accurate. I kind of agree. I really like Bob McKenzie in his lists. For me, Bob McKenzie has Slavkovsky number one as a left winger, 10 points in 31 games in the league. That's not insane, but it's pretty good for someone his age. Shane Wright at number two with 94 points in 63 games in the OHL, so a huge difference in terms of quality of opponents there. And then there's Logan Cooley playing the USDP, so not in the NCAA, but in the U18 national team. He has 75 points in 51 games. So I agree with what you're saying, Berta.
Oh my God!
Thank you for the oh my God, Danny. So I agree with what you're saying, where Shane Wright, is probably going to be a really good defensive center. The question is, though, if you're Montreal, you have Nick Suzuki. He's already been compared to Bergeron before. So if you take Shane Wright, are you just taking another Nick Suzuki? And don't get me wrong, I love Nick Suzuki, and I'd take another Nick Suzuki on my team. But do you then say, you know what, Nick Suzuki's a great defensive center. You can shut down anybody you want. Do you take the risk on a different center who has a higher skill ceiling and take Logan Cooley?
Well, I like Logan Cooley. He was my number one on my list.
Okay.
I think he's the best player, at least in the top. If we're looking at the top three between Slavkovsky, how do you say his name?
Slavkovsky. Slavkovsky.
Between him, between him, Wright, and Cooley. Cooley is, I think, the best one, and I think he has the highest upside. Dude, the way this guy picks apart players, he wins his ones. He literally, I was a caught term, but he literally wins his ones. If you watch any highlight, this guy picks apart every single defenseman. He's so smart. He's good in defensive zone as well. I see him picking up stuff in the defensive zone, going straight down. I think he's the best skater out of all of them. And he's super flashy as well. And he's very, very creative. And I think that he'd be a really good player. But with that being said, he still needs to fill out a little bit more. He is under 6 feet, and he's I think he's 170 something, 175-ish, around there. So he will need to fill out a little bit and just get a little bit stronger, which I'm sure he'll do. But with that being said, there is a little bit of a risk, right? What we're seeing now is great, but
it's not against men. It's against kids still.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. So when you do fill out and you get stronger and stuff, that's a whole different discussion. Once if you're able to do that while you're stronger, getting stronger and all that stuff, then that's great. But that being said, that's why I think Montreal is going to take Shane Wright, just because I think he's already there, and Cooley's going to take a couple of years to get in the NHL. right? So
Yeah,
I
and
think
Montreal needs help right now.
yeah, so I think that they'll probably just go with Wright, but
Sure.
yeah, Cooley is really good as well. What do you think,
So
Ponch? Have you had a chance
yeah,
to look at
what
the
do you think about
prospects?
that, Punch?
So, like, this happened last year too with Beniers, Power, and who's the other one? Beniers, Power, and who's the Seattle pick? Or sorry,
That was
Beniers.
Beniers.
Beniers, Power. Who's the third pick?
Ooh,
I'll check for you right
that's
now,
a
but I'm pretty
good
sure it was
pick.
just between Power and Beniers, wasn't it?
Yeah,
But yeah.
It was a little weird
they
because you
both
could
look
have gone.
quite good though.
I'm
So
pulling it
it
up.
was I got it for you. It was McTavish. So it was Owen Power first, Matty Beniers second, McTavish third, Luke Hughes fourth, Kent Johnson fifth.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
not
So
yeah. Go ahead.
So the same thing happened where it was Powers Benier, but then you also could have saw Clark being taken because he's just a dynamic defenseman. Same with Gunther. So or Kent Johnson even. So I still think Shane Wright's gonna go first because you don't have so many people go Shane Wright's you have a lot of people rank Shane Wright number one because he's really good and
Yeah.
he's probably the best fit right now
Yeah, he's the most
because
ready as well and most
I
complete.
think
I
he's the
think
most ready.
yeah.
And he's still only
Yeah,
18. He
Hmm.
just turned 18.
yeah, which is
So
nice.
he could either go back to the O or he could go up to Montreal. And depending on how Montreal's feeling right now, that's a good thing
Hmm.
because if you worst comes to worst, you go, we're gonna send Shane back to the O. We're gonna tank another year, let Caulfield, Suzuki develop, and then we're gonna get the rebuild going. This is when we're
Sure.
this is when we're gonna turn it up,
Yeah,
eh?
I see what you're saying with
Because
that, but if you're using that logic though, wouldn't you just take Logan Cooley and let him
I
do the
would agree.
year?
I agree, but I think the problem with Cooley is the reason why I think it's a little bit more of a discussion is because you can see that Shane Wright is more likely just to be a hit because he's more ready to play now, and you can just see him already. Like he's already like good enough to play now, right? Whereas Cooley, it's more of a projection, right?
Yeah,
You see the
exactly.
talent, so it's hard to say, right? It's hard to do that number one. If you had like if this was a discussion between like fifth and sixth overall, and these are the two players we're talking about, you take Cooley for sure because who cares, right? Like you know, the first overall pick you can't botch it, you know.
right.
Which I think sucks though. Like it just sucks to be in that position, especially if it's a discussion like this. But yeah, regardless though, I feel like they'll get a good player. Like
Well,
for yeah, for sure.
yeah, but the thing is, Cooley's going to the University of Minnesota. So the thing about the American prospects that go into the double NCAA is they have to play a couple years, and usually it's because they. So I heard Nathan McKinnon. I can't remember it was on Chicklets or another podcast, but or it might have been Sidney Crosby. Um, people, if you're able to go to the or people that go to the O or to like junior hockey know that they've got a decent chance at making the show right away. Now the thing with the university prospects is they want to go because they still need more time. They get their education paid for, and um, they start they start later. So while Montreal can start the rebuild, can start already if they really wanted to, they can start competing because they've just dumped Shea Weber's contract.
For Dadonov,
So
which
they've
is
got
not a
cap space.
slouch.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got little pieces, but you don't quite have a core yet. Or you've got a core, but they're young. So what the thing though is, at least with Shane Wright, he can play now. If because the American prospects or not the American prospects because the certain prospects play in the NCAA like Cole Caulfield. Cole Caulfield had to wait he had to wait a couple years, and then he could join the
I think
Canadiens.
he wanted to wait though. He had the option to leave. I'm pretty sure he could have left. He just wanted to. He
You could.
wanted to stay, and the Habs wanted him to stay. Yeah.
Exactly, but he also gets his education paid for, so that's also the other. That's also the other big part of it, because while like most players want to play in the NCAA, most of them they're studious. They take their education seriously, and especially because you don't get full ride scholarships every other day, you might as well just see it out, even if it does meet. And usually, like they'll only take 2-3 year programs, and starting at 18.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Shane Wright can play for Montreal now. If he wants to develop a little more in the O, he can do that. And if that's what Montreal thinks is right, I think I've been rambling for a minute, then they can do that. I've been rambling.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I do think they'll want to get these guys into the NHL, whoever they take at first overall, just because it is the first overall pick, and they're just expected to make the NHL. And I think Shane Wright would honestly probably be NHL ready. He'd probably be the most NHL ready out of the draft. You look at all the players here, and he put up some pretty good numbers. So I do think Shane Wright will end up going first. I know Slavkovsky's rated number 1 by our boy, but by McKenzie here, by Bob McKenzie. But I just don't see, if you're Montreal, you've had center depth issues for so long, and you still have the same issue. How do you pass up another center in one of the top 3 slots? I know they messed up with Kotkaniemi, but it's not like Kotkaniemi was the bad pick. It's just we used him wrong. You know what I mean?
Well, like Bob McKenzie, I think is that ranking like he thinks Montreal will take them, or just how he ranks the players in terms of like one better than the other? Because if it's one better than the other, then I understand.
It's one better than the other. Yeah, he doesn't do by which team's taking who.
Yeah, I think I understand it, because everything I've seen on him is he's very good at scoring, like up and tight, like really close to the net, like in between the circles. Like that's where he scores all his goals, and he's a very smart player, very good defensive player. And that's just obviously very much needed in the NHL, right? Like you need finishing. Like everybody's good. Everyone's like you can just say like, oh yeah, this guy can score in front of the net, sure, but how do you actually do that very often and very efficiently, right? And it's not too many people you can just name off the bat or off the top of your head that are like that. And I think that's something he's really, really good at, and something he can perfect. And so that's needed in the playoffs, right? And he's a huge guy too. Like he's a really big. Like I'm pretty sure. Like let me see how big he is. He is
6 foot.
90
kilos.
6 foot 90 kilos. Oh yeah. Wait, is that it? Slavkovsky.
Oh, sorry, Slavkovsky?
Yeah, no, I think he's like bigger than that.
Oh,
he's 6'4". He's 6'4" and 99 kilos.
Yeah, exactly.
He's 218 pounds.
Big kid. So it's like he's huge, and he's 18 years old. He's gonna get even bigger, right? So he's gonna get even stronger. So that is something that the NHL will very much value, no matter how fast the game gets or anything. And he's a good skater anyway, as it is. So
yeah, so maybe
I think that's why.
Maybe they take him because they need someone to score goals, because Montreal can't fucking score either.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing I will say though, it's hard to find top end centers, and you tend to find better steals on the wing. You have a better chance of finding a steal on the wing than a top line center.
Yeah,
later in the draft. Yeah, at least later in the first.
You also have
more valuable.
You also have Cole Caulfield, who is a very good left winger.
But you need a physical guy who can score too. Like yes, Josh Anderson's physical and can score, but Slavkovsky's way more talented, at least projects to be, than Josh Anderson, right? And then like I know Montreal's a 26th pick, as well as so they have 26th overall, they have 1st overall, and they have 33rd overall. Supposedly, Kent Hughes has been pretty active in trying to trade those. Supposedly, Montreal wants to use those to move up in the draft. And if I'm Montreal, right? So we have Carey Price and Nets. We have Caden Primo as the other goalie behind Carey Price, as well as Jake Allen. So like our goaltending's not terrible. We don't have any crazy prospects, but some of our prospects have developed nicely, and there's not really a goalie like Askarov, for example, in this draft. So I don't see him trading up or trading down to get a goalie. I do, however, see him trading up to get a defenseman. So Petry's on the block, and and Petrie's likely to be traded. I know I'm kind of getting into the
Yeah.
trade stuff now for tomorrow, but that's fine. So Petrie's likely to be traded either tomorrow or on the first day of free agency or pretty early in the offseason, right? So Petrie's likely gone. So you're losing that defenseman. You already lost Shea Weber. You lost Ben Sherratt. That's 3 defensemen right there. You have Romanov, lefty, who can play left or right. You have Jordan Harris. You have Justin Barron. So that's 3 young defensemen. So that's 3 good young defensive prospects right there. You have Jaden Struble, who's not coming in just yet, but he's close, supposedly at least. And then you have Edmondson, you have David Savard, you have Chris Weidman, who you re-signed. So what I'm seeing here is there's not really too many top guys that are going to be like those. All people I listed, they can be solid defensemen, top 4 defensemen in the NHL. The prospects at least. David Savard, don't even try. Edmondson can still be a top 4, but not David Savard. So what I'm seeing in Montreal is we're missing a top elite, talented defensive prospect. Yes, Matthias Nylander projects to be pretty good, or should be pretty good. Yes, Romanov projects to be a top 4 defenseman. Yes, Harris as well, Struble as well. Caden Gooley does, and might have a top pairing upside, sure. But who's going to pair with Caden Gooley? Who's that right-handed guy? Sure, Justin Barron maybe could pull it off. But is there someone better than Justin Barron we could acquire in this first round? So I'm thinking maybe the Montreal Canadiens trade up. I know 26 to 24 is not a lot. They can get Matachuk. They could get Pickering. But if you look,
Pickering's going to be good. I think.
But if you look in the top end of the draft, there's David Jiricek, Simon Nemec, both right-handed defensemen. Top right-handed prospects are so hard to come by. Both are over 6 feet tall, so that's great as it is right there. I know Nemec's a bit smaller, he's 6'1", but Jiricek's 6'3". So they're both big guys. So those are 2 guys Montreal could be eyeing, although it would take more than just the 26th and 33rd to get up to 5th or 4th overall. You could maybe package Petrie in there, but that'd be a lot to give up. But if you look further down, we have Kevin Korchinski and Pavel Mintyukov. Korchinski's left-handed, and I think so is Pavel, but I'm sure one of them could maybe play the offside, and that might give you just one more elite defensive prospect that would make a huge difference in the future. Because right now, like I said, the defensive cupboards look nice, at least in terms of a lot of guys that project to be top 4, like 4th, 5th, 3rd defenseman, maybe even 2nd defenseman, but we don't have a guy that projects to be, I'm not trying to get a Cale Makar, but like we don't have a Hedman, Makar, Fox. We don't have a Yossi level prospect, and you need one to build a good defense core,
right?
Or a Pesci even. We don't even have a Pesci level or Jacob Slavin level prospect. You know what I mean? So it'd be, maybe Caden Gooley or Justin Barron turns into that. But William Trudeau, isn't he? What? Wait.
William Trudeau, he's not too bad. 68 or 44 points, in 68 games, so he's not too bad.
Position?
Defenseman.
Why did I think he was a center? But he's left-handed as well. 4th round pick, that's nice. But why did I think he was a center? Wow, that's confusing. That's a good defensive prospect.
Well, do you think you could dish Petrie and your 20th pick to 26th? To go up any higher? 26th.
Like you look at the teams, but if you look at the teams in the top 5 that would be willing to trade it, New Jersey might get Seattle. I don't see Seattle, but I think you can convince Philly to be stupid. They just hired John Tortorella.
He's a good coach.
I know.
He's a good coach.
I know he is. He's capable of coaching bad teams, and making them look really good. But he's not capable of coaching stars. So maybe if you're Philly, you say, I don't want to draft a superstar. He's going to ruin them. So maybe you say, hey, Montreal, I'll take your 26th pick. We'll take Jeff Petrie, and maybe just throw in a 2nd rounder, and that might make it work. And that's the 5th overall pick, and that's theoretically David Jiricek right there, who's projected 6th. So that would be really good for Montreal. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if Kent Hughes can pull that off. And, Philadelphia, you get Petrie and Ryan Ellis on your right side, and Rasmus Ristolainen. So that's a pretty big right side. Very expensive right side. So I don't see how that would necessarily make sense. But that is the only team that I'd see willing to trade for Petrie in the top 5. Maybe Columbus. You could see Columbus at 6th. But that'd be if I'm Kent Hughes, I say, okay, if your check's available at 6, we'll make the trade with you. But if Philly takes him at 5th early, then we're not trading with you. So that's how I would see it. So I don't necessarily see this working out, but
it's going to be real tough to get the Flyers 5th.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't even think it's gonna be hard to get the Flyers 5th.
Really?
Because yeah, man, right now they're given the green light to go and get out of this mess because they don't want to miss the playoffs again next year. And I don't think a 5th pick is gonna it will help them obviously in the long term. It's smart to keep the 5th pick and actually draft there. I don't think they're gonna do it. I think they're gonna try and do their best to get out of this mess. I really think they're gonna try and go for Kadri or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're gonna trade.
Kadri's gonna be the savior of Philadelphia.
Yeah, that being said, all the stuff they're gonna do, I don't think what they're gonna do is gonna make them make the playoffs. But I know they're gonna try and do some bold stuff here, and I would expect to see that. Same thing with New Jersey. I know we're talking about they're drafting at 2nd, but don't be surprised that pick is gone, man. I think that right now,
Candy really wants Miller to go for that pick.
What's that?
Candy really wants to give up Miller for that pick.
Well, I don't know if that's gonna happen, but if you're just looking from not even looking at the Canucks perspective, if you look at New Jersey's perspective, the two of the top 3 guys are centers in Wright or Cooley. Say you guys don't pick one of them, say both of them are just there, right? That's 2 centers, and you can't miss both of them. They already have Jack Hughes at center. They already have Nico Hischier at center. So, what are you expecting? Are you expecting Wright or Cooley to be your 3rd line guy? And they're both locked in long term.
But they have the second overall. If Slavkovsky doesn't go first, just take Slavkovsky.
They could do
then
that.
Then you'd have Hischier, Hughes down the middle. You'd have Slavkovsky on the wing. You'd have Jesper Bratt on the wing, who's been a stud for them. You would still have Pavel Zacha there. You'd have a Tatar. And then on defense, you have Luke Hughes coming in, ideally. I think they'd want Luke Hughes coming in. Dougie Hamilton, healthy, would be nice. Ty Smith. Damon Severson, that's a pretty solid
they
team.
have a good core. I mean, that wasn't the point I'm trying to make. I was just saying, if they're not high on him, on Slavkovsky, right? And they think they can use this 2nd overall as a trade chip to get someone better that helps them now. Because, that might be something they look into. Because I know they're not super high on these guys anyway, as it is. They might draft them because why not? It's good to just have it anyway as a backup or, a trade chip for later on down the road. But, right now, if you look at it, I really think that New Jersey thinks that Jack Hughes is the real deal. He definitely is. And I think that this year he'll probably hit 100 points, which he probably would have last year, to be honest, if he just was healthy the whole time. That goes a long way. Nico Hischier plays well. That goes a long way as well. I think their main thing is they need to fix their goaltending. If Blackwood's not good to go, then they need to get that fixed because that held them back quite a bit last year. And whether that's a trade of the 2nd overall pick or something they do in the in free agency or whatever it is, I don't know, but I know they're gonna be very active. They're very active in DeBrincat talks. They're active in the Miller talks. They're active in I even heard John Gibson's name thrown around quite a bit on teams he could go to New Jersey, for example. So I think between them and Philadelphia, those are 2 teams for sure you'll probably see make some trades in this draft.
Yeah, I agree with that, and just kind of build on the trade rumors here because we're gonna end it off soon here because I have to get going. But just to build on the trade rumors, supposedly Toronto. I was listening to the Steve Dangle podcast last night. And supposedly Toronto has a few. Dubas has been pretty active, and Columbus has been very active. I know. Dubas is always active according to media, but supposedly because. Columbus was one of the teams that was really, really in on McDonough. We haven't even talked about the McDonough trade yet. I guess we can talk about that today too, before we end off.
Yeah.
But so anyway, they were really in on McDonough. Then when he went to Nashville, well, they don't just stop. They could look for someone similar to McDonough. So supposedly, the idea is maybe if you're the Leafs, right, you have Riley, Giordano, Muzzin, Sandin, Liljegren, Brody, and Justin Hall. You have so many defensemen. Maybe you say, okay, you know what, Jake Muzzin, you're taking away time from Sandin. Sandin's ready. We want Liljegren to get more ice time. Giordano to play with Liljegren. Sandin to play with Brody. Riley with Hall, or however you want to do it. I don't really care. But the point is, they have prospects that are ready to go. They need the ice time. So maybe you say, okay, Jake Muzzin, we're willing to ship you off to Columbus. Columbus wants you because they wanted Ryan McDonough. Jake Muzzin's very similar to Ryan McDonough, similar in age, similar in play style. I think McDonough's he reads the play better than Jake Muzzin, but I think Jake Muzzin's still a very capable top 4 defenseman. So if you're Columbus, if you're going on McDonough, you might as well go in on Jake Muzzin as your backup option. So I could see that happening. And supposedly, or not even supposedly, it's known that not every GM talks to each other. There are GMs that don't talk to each other at all and will not make a trade with each other no matter what. So that's kind of fascinating. But supposedly Kyle Dubas has very good talks with the GM, Jarmo Kekalainen of Columbus. Like they've made quite a few, usually smaller trades, but they made the Foligno trade, so they're still very active. They're in talks together. It's definitely something you could see coming. So, and maybe Korpisalo going the other way. That, like I said, Steve brought it up on his podcast with Adam Wild and Jesse Blake, but I just wanted to reiterate it here because it could be some pretty big news.
Yeah, I reckon they move Brody. Brody makes the most sense. He makes $5 million right now on his $5 million AAV. So
I'm gonna disagree with you on that.
He's been okay. Really, you're not a big Brody guy. As a Calgary guy, I hated it when you traded Brody.
I'm saying they're not going to trade Brody.
I think it makes more sense.
I think they're going to lose Sandin. That's what I'm going to do.
To who?
Well, if you offer sheet Sandin, he's only $4 million, and you lose the second round pick. So Jay Fresh said it on Twitter. If you're a rebuilding team like Montreal,
I'll take Sandin any day of the week.
It's a good bet. $4 million is not bad, man. That's not bad. He's a solid prospect. You're only losing a second for him. I think every team that's rebuilding should do it. Like whether it's Arizona or Montreal or even Seattle, any of these teams, man, they all gonna do that.
Well, one of the things is, because Toronto's been making so many picks, if they don't have their pick, they can't counter offer sheet. They can't offer as well.
That's true, I guess. Yeah.
And the rule is, so I'm just checking, they don't have their second round pick right now.
Montreal?
And the rule is Toronto.
But
Toronto
doesn't have to offer sheet Sandin.
No, Toronto. Yeah, they don't have to
worry about the pick.
Yeah, so they're gonna get a second round pick.
They'd get a second. Yeah. No, the other team offer sheeting Sandin has to worry about that, but not true. That'd be so unfair. It's like if you're a competing team, you don't have your picks, and you can't sign your number one prospect. That wouldn't be very fair. But no, I do think that there's going to be some talks in Toronto. They have a ton of cap issues coming up. They don't have a starting goalie for next year right now. Peter Mrazek's a huge red flag in in any way you look at it. And then there's the risk of Jack Campbell not signing because they don't have the money. So, and they're supposedly not really close on talks. So we'll see what happens with Toronto. Prediction: Toronto falls off next year. Just kidding. I mean, they could probably run it back with an AHL caliber goalie and outscore their problems. But when it comes to playoff time, that's where the goaltending matters a bit more. But long story short, tomorrow's going to be a fun time. I'm in class, unfortunately, for the draft, but you can tune in on Berta's channel, Bertaman, Berdaman. I don't know, I'm having trouble pronouncing things today.
I know, what the heck?
Yeah, I'm struggling today. I'm tired.
That's all right.
It's been a long day. I've been very busy. So I guess my voice is dying for some reason, but you can check out his channel. He'll be doing the live stream of the game, not of the game, but of the draft on his channel. So check that out if you want to tune in live and react to what's going on. I do think there's going to be a lot of trades tomorrow. This is one of those drafts where it's like, it seems underwhelming, but it could be one of those drafts. It seems underwhelming in the moment, but once the players actually take a step on the ice in the NHL, they could be quite good. You really never know with this kind of stuff. So I'm excited to see who it's taken first overall. Kent Hughes sounds like he's very busy, so I'm excited to see what kind of moves Montreal makes, and I'm excited to see what Vancouver does. And Calgary, I don't know what they're doing.
Do you want to do a quick little two little predictions? Okay, the first one I want to hear is who's going first.
Shane Wright.
All right, and then Punch.
I also have Shane Wright.
Okay, I have Shane Wright too. Okay, that was boring. Okay, here's the other one. What's the over/under on player trades? So a player, like an actual player that's playing right now, like not a prospect, is involved in a trade in this draft.
It's the first 2 rounds tomorrow, right?
It's the first round tomorrow.
First round.
Okay.
Second round's on Saturday.
So let's just say, what's the over/under?
I think player trades, I think it'll be, let's say 4.5. So you either pick 4, or you think it's gonna be, or like less than 4, 4 or less, or more than 4.
I'm gonna say more than 4 because if there's one deal, it's probably gonna involve multiple players. So I'm gonna say more than 4.
No. As in, like, that has to be separate, like
Oh,
individual.
less. Okay, then 4 or
Yeah.
less. Then 4 or less.
4 or less.
Yeah.
Punch.
I'm gonna go 4 or less. I think it'll be more pick trades.
Yeah.
I think it's
And
gonna be
prospect
more.
trades.
I think it's gonna be above 4.5. So I'm
So you're
guessing
saying 5 or more. Okay.
Yeah, 5
How do you
trade.
go 0.5 on a trade?
They always. I don't know. Just how they do.
That's how you do it,
things.
because like you just either pick. You can't pick like 4. You got to go like 4 or less, or you do 5.
I see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how they
So
cut
that's
it
why I
off.
say 4.5. That way, if it's 4, not everyone wins. Usually, at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
Or I guess if no one would win if it was 4. I don't know. Anyway, the
If
point
it's
is.
4, no. If it's 4, everybody who picked the under wins. Everyone who picked the over it'd have to be 5.
I see.
Yeah.
No, I know,
Yeah.
but let's say the odds were 4 on the dot. Then like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't work.
If it lands
how
on
would you-
4, what
yeah,
I
happens?
see.
But anyway, we're not talking about betting right now. There's not really any betting going on anyway. There's not
Yeah.
much to bet on right now. I mean, I guess you can.
Yeah.
I think there's baseball still going, but I mean, I don't really
Oh god.
follow
I don't
baseball.
remember
So
baseball. No.
There's UFC.
I guess there's
Whatever.
UFC too.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
is
money
he
to
one
bet.
on the
There's a lot of
weekend?
money to
Yeah.
bet there.
Yeah, we knew it. We knew Izzy was gonna win.
Wow,
anyways.
Candy, you watched
Yo.
0 seconds.
Yo, honestly, watch time
I
has
don't know
been
how that
broken
works.
forever. I don't know. It never works for anybody. But anyway, guys, that's gonna do it for today's episode of the podcast. We hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy the podcast, drop a like, drop a follow, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment. You can tune in live at SomeLazyGuy09. You can also tune in on Berta's channel tomorrow to watch the NHL Draft live with the audience, with everyone in the community. You can check out Ponch_YYC on Twitch. You can check us out, The Fan Connection, on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. We're available on all those platforms, so feel free to check us out there. So we appreciate all your support so far. It's been a fun journey. We're looking forward to the future, especially next season once hockey starts picking up again. And we'll see you all again soon. Hope you all have a good day.